What is affordable? Is there a definition here? Because affordable is
Yeah.
implied in older. And so can you tell
Yeah.
me what affordable is? And then is the operator going to be life moves?
So
Is there an operator for this? Or?
I'm sorry, is the operator going to be what?
these are two developments. I do not believe they're transitional housing. They're just regular housing.
No, these are not transitional. These are regular old housing. They're actually really beautiful pieces, I think. And both have had, there's an inclusionary provision for Sunnyvale for 15% affordable on any build. And that's what they are right now, is 15%.
And so we do have an elected. So Merle, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Another announcement we have is Agnes was going to talk about the tenant protection right to lease. Oh, you need the mic.
So hi, can everybody hear me even with my mask on? Is that okay? So what I wanted to talk about tonight briefly was I wanted to introduce you to Sunnyvale's proposed ordinance that would provide broader protections to renters than our current state bill. For example, staff is recommending a landlord pay the equivalent of 2 months' rent in the case of a no-fault eviction. We're asking you to please voice your support of staff's recommendations during the Planning Commission meeting on April 10th and council on the 25th. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
So let's see. We are going to move into our next presentation, and I'm making sure that well, we have to pivot just a little. I was going to have an introduction by Sunnyvale Community Services, but I do not believe Marie or David is here to speak to that. So we'll just move right along. So Chuck, I'll let you introduce. Oh, she's coming at 7:30. Well, she'll come to the tail end, so she'll do the ending. Oh, there's David. Welcome, David. Are you prepared to give a little introduction with your numbers? Yeah. Sorry. So David Hernandez is here with Sunnyvale Community Services. And I do not know his exact title, but whenever I have a problem, David is very responsive. You could.
Sorry, everyone. I just got back from a tour at our local shelter, 999 Hamlin Court. Hi. Let me pull up my
Okay.
laptop.
So while David is getting oriented, I'm sorry. We are going to try to be timely tonight. So I would just ask that any comments be respectful of the speakers and their topics that they're presenting. And while we have another elected, Linda Sell is here.
Give it the part.
So, so what kind of tour was everybody at that we weren't invited to? And this is current treatment to the trustee and the Santa Clara County. Beautiful. Thank you. Welcome. So we're at the point where David's going to just give us some numbers of what they're seeing in Sunnyvale in terms of housing and what's going on as for them.
Hello. I'm David Hernandez. I'm the Chief Programs Officer here at Sunnyvale Community Services. Welcome everybody to our home. We are Sunnyvale Community Services is an emergency assistance agency, one of 7 across Santa Clara County. We support primarily all of Sunnyvale zip codes and also our neighboring zip code of Alviso 95002. We provide emergency services or emergency basic services to prevent hunger and homelessness in our local community, which is our mission. We do this by supporting families or individuals who are at the brink of experiencing homelessness because they have experienced an emergency that's preventing them from being able to pay their bills, pay their rent, and that is propelling them into homelessness. We also support our unhoused community, those who are transitioning into housing. We are able to, I want to say, financially back them into housing by paying their first month's rent, their deposits, their utility bills, furnishing their homes, eliminating every financial barrier that they are experiencing that's preventing them from moving into housing. So the data that I'll share with you today is more around our unhoused community. I did a data dive in our client database, numbers around our unhoused community, as I mentioned, who have we served and how have we served them in the past year. So the time frame that I looked into was March of 2022 to February of 2023 this year. We identified that we supported 434 households who identified as currently unhoused in the city of Sunnyvale. Those households represented 755 unduplicated individuals. Out of those individuals, 173 were school-aged children attending our school districts. 50 of those individuals were 65 and older, so our most vulnerable population being seniors. We also identified that we supported or assisted 348 households consisting of 615 individuals received food assistance, and they continue receiving or participating in our food programming. Again, our mission being preventing hunger and homelessness here in Sunnyvale. 96 of those households, consisting of 214 individuals, received some sort of package of financial assistance. This includes rents, deposits, some motel stays, and critical bills. 203 households, 412 individuals participated in one of our many case management programs where they receive wraparound services to support them in their transition into housing. We are closely working with the Sunnyvale School District. As you all already may know, there's the McKinney-Vento Act where unhoused family or unhoused children receive support to stay in their school of origin to not disrupt their education. The school district has informed us that this year they are supporting 63 children that are in their school district. We have so far connected with 38 of those children, so we're still wondering where's everyone else and how can we connect with them as quickly as possible to bring them into our services. Sorry, that was a lot. So fast. That was my one slide, Angela. Sorry.
Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to Chuck, who's going to introduce our speakers from Life Moves.
All right. Hello, good evening. Yeah, we're also happy to have with tonight Heather Griffin from Life Moves. Ms. Griffin is the Director of Shelter and Services for Santa Clara County, and she's going to be talking about what Life Moves does, what their mission is, their programs, and some of the successes they've had. And she is on Zoom, and I will turn it over to her.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I will wait for the slideshow to be shared and then we'll get started, but thank you for having me. Okay, and can you put it into the slideshow presentation mode? Thank you. Okay, so again, I'm Heather Griffin. I'm with Life Moves. And if you want to move to our next slide. So we are an agency that is really focused on addressing the fundamental need for shelter in our community. Life Moves serves 2 counties currently, and we'll get into more detail in a slide or two. But currently the need in Santa Clara is extremely great. So at the last point in time homeless count, which was in 2022, the county identified over 10,000 individuals experiencing homelessness, and a vast majority of those individuals were unsheltered. And so it is our mission as Life Moves to end homelessness by providing interim housing, supportive services, collaborative partnerships at a variety of different entry points into that spectrum of where people start experiencing or are experiencing homelessness. We have 3 pillars that we kind of operate under. One is that we really want to provide critical housing and supportive services. So it is that emergency shelter, immediately getting folks from the street or unsheltered environments into something with shelter for more stability. We also collaborate with community partners in order to meet the demand. We are one agency, and again, the need is great. And so we recognize the need to utilize the talents and resources of our partnering agencies to best meet the needs of those in our community who are experiencing being unsheltered. And then our primary one is that we really want to engage and treat our clients and staff with dignity and respect. It is so common for people who are experiencing being unhoused to be the person that's forgotten or overlooked or judged. And so we do a lot of training and work around making sure that everyone feels seen and respected how they are when they're coming in. And we got to these pillars through kind of a cross-sectional internal Life Moves group, as well as getting input from other external partners, from our clients. And we really wanted to take a strong look back and assess who we are and kind of how we're working to prioritize what we're looking at. And so we really envision thriving communities where every one of our neighbors has a home. Next slide, please. So again, here is kind of a map of the peninsula showing where we engage services. Again, as I said, it's San Mateo and Santa Clara County. So as the slide suggests, we have 26 sites. 9 of them are in San Mateo County and 17 are in Santa Clara County. You'll also note that we have 5 new sites that are coming online. One is the Navigation Center located in Redwood City. One is San Jose RV Safe Parking. Both of those are to launch mid-April. We have Guadalupe EIH, which is located downtown San Jose. We have a program called THAP, which stands for Temporary Housing Assistance Program, which is also located in San Jose. And then there is a San Mateo County hotel. So 5 new sites that we're still in progress of opening in this moment, and 2 sites that are currently under construction. So one is Home Key Palo Alto, and one is a Home Key San Jose site. And so this is just a broad swipe of kind of where our services are, and you'll note kind of through the little graphic which ones serve singles and which ones serve families. So we do have a blended population of different types of facilities that we operate. Next slide, please. So our model is one where we took feedback again from our clients. They're the ones receiving services. They should have a say in kind of what they're providing. And so in addition to those interim housings, we wanted to make sure that the model of what we're creating, where we're expanding, really met that need. And so you'll see that we're looking at things that are more private, that really do amplify that dignity and respect, where people can have that safe space. We assign each household a case manager when they arrive into our facilities, and the case manager works with each household to identify their specific needs through assessment. No one individual is alike, so no one treatment plan or case plan is identical. We do have the 6 areas of focus that we want to highlight, and so oftentimes we'll focus work in these themes. One is around physical health. As you just heard from Sunnyvale Community Services, we see populations that are older, that come with chronic health conditions, that are coming having lived unsheltered for extended periods of time. And so they have greater needs transitioning and connecting with primary care, behavioral health care. So we work to link them back to those services. When we serve families, we also make sure that they're connected to education services, to childcare services, and also to some social and emotional development to make sure that the trauma of being unsheltered for children is really addressed as well, to give them the best opportunity moving forward. We have an education department, and so we utilize that to both enrich the services that we offer to those children, but also to offer workshops and programming for adults to get them re-engaged, learning new skills, helping them figure out things as simple as budgeting or things like that to get back on their feet. We have employment specialists who help navigate the ever-changing job market, especially for some of our adults, reintegrating back in to kind of where the job market is at, the fact that most of it's online, helping them build those skills and navigate that is something that we do. I also mentioned financial literacy already. So we help people figure out where can their resources go? Where can they attain more resources? So we're thinking benefits, things to connect them to that they may be eligible for and aren't aware that they're eligible for. And then for some people, it's helping navigate any legal barriers that they may have, which prevents them from accessing some financial barriers. And again, just broad community support. Life Move services are meant to be interim, meaning that we are a short-term intervention while we help bridge people to more stable housing. And so we want to make sure that they are linked to the community and can add support beyond just what we provide. Next slide, please. So just a typical operation, each facility has a slightly different model in terms of who we serve as a population and the size of that community. But each of our facilities is served with 24/7, 365 staffing. So it is Life Move staff on site at all times. We have a variety of different staff that do that, from residential services coordinators to case managers to behavioral health interns to program directors, housing specialists. It's a whole mix that really support, again, this case plan for each household. We really work on training and implementing best practices. So often all of our direct services staff are trained in motivational interviewing, de-escalation, crisis intervention, and then we specifically trailer our trainings around the things that are coming up, what resources are in the community we can best link individuals to, especially as resources change and evolve. For us, safety is paramount, both for our clients and for our staff. And so we want to make sure that every facility that we operate is safe for the most vulnerable person. And so you can think of, would I put my child here? Would I trust that? Would I put my elderly parent here and know that they're being cared for and that they're being supported? And so that's what we look at for the benchmark of our services. And again, very often we are asked by our community partners, because the need is so great, to be a low barrier program for entry. And what this means is not that there is no barrier to entry, but that we really want to meet individuals where they're at and kind of help them navigate through what they're working on to enter. So things like having a pet would not be prohibitive in some of the new programs that we're building. We're building spaces that accommodate that, spaces that are flexible for different family sizes. So in our county, large families are hard to place because the units are so small. And so we're looking at things that are more flexible to serve larger families when we need to. We also want to make sure that for those who can safely navigate in the program, even if they have histories of criminal backgrounds or things, that we look at, again, that safety component and make sure that we're not being biased against anyone who we could otherwise serve and get ahead in our community. Next slide, please. For us, again, we have site programming. This is the breakdown of kind of what we were doing or what I was describing around the staffing model. So all of our programs have a director, an associate program director. Residential services coordinators for us are the frontline staff. So they're who will greet you, they're who do intakes with our clients when they first arrive, they're who help manage the facility from that 24/7 operational standpoint. And then our case managers are the direct service staff. They're the more clinically focused, and they provide these services that you see here with our specialists to really tailor each programming to each specific household. Next slide, please. So again, just kind of what are our results? How do we do? This is specifically taken from the year 2022 and encompasses all of those who entered our shelter, but not all the clients we serve. So it's those who we were serving in shelter. And I just want to make that distinction. We did see 2,100 people across our programming return to stable housing last year. And we have success rates that are fairly high for our families and for our overall population, 82% of our families, which is incredible. So lots of success there. And overall, 65% of our clients do find stable housing. And again, that's through that individualized case plan that's really tailored to kind of what's going to work for that specific household and their needs. And we're happy to report that at least 36% of them do remain permanently housed after 1 year of being in their housing from our services. And so I did see, I think, a few questions. Colleen asked if all of our locations are low barrier. For the vast majority of our programs, there are certain stipulations that we have. So for instance, any of our facilities that serve minor children, we do not allow individuals who are on the Megan's Law Registry or the Sex Offender Registry. So anyone that has minors, that population is not able to be served, but we would serve them at our singles facilities. Otherwise, yes, we really do serve kind of and meet people where they're at. We look at, are they safely able to navigate their environment, both from their physical standpoint and from their health environment. So we look to see if we are an appropriate level of care for folks coming in. We don't want to set anybody up to come in and immediately fail and kind of restart that cycle for them. So again, we're looking at how can we provide positive services and really support the growth in getting folks back into stable housing. And that's the end of my presentation. So I am open to more questions if anybody else has them from the room or in the chat. Scott, I see your question, 36%. It does mean that there's a variety of different housing. We are not able necessarily to track individuals who move outside of the county. So we do utilize the HMIS systems in both San Mateo and Santa Clara. And the way that we can calculate whether or not somebody re-enters and is unsuccessful is whether or not they re-enter seeking services, identifying themselves as homeless in that county. And so if they've moved out of the area, we may not be able to track that specific information. So it's not an inclusive percentage, but for those we can track, it's 36% remaining housed. And yes, we are familiar with the VI SPDAT. All of our case managers in Santa Clara County are trained and do issue that to households. We help match them with the Uplift transit system, giving them access to the buses and the VATA light rail. So that's something that we utilize. For those who aren't aware, it's also a tool that the county uses to identify what individuals or households may qualify for in terms of supportive housing. So there are different housing programs, which include vouchers or assisted kind of finance for housing that tailors off after like a year. So that's rapid rehousing. And so the VI SPDAT will help identify folks who can be referred to those services and help support their transition into stable housing. So we do utilize those.
Sorry about that. All right, I think we have a couple of questions from in the room. Can start over here.
I'm Rose. I'm part of the Sunnyvale. I helped Dan House for a while. Do you have any chance? Are you looking into putting one in Sunnyvale too? Life Move? I didn't hear anything about Sunnyvale.
So we currently don't have any programs in Sunnyvale, but we do serve Sunnyvale at our drop-in center, which is located in Palo Alto. We also are a partner through the Here For You hotline. And so if you are a resident in Sunnyvale seeking services, you can call the Here For You hotline and let them know of your living status and be referred to our closest program. For Sunnyvale, you would still qualify for the Mountain View program.
Yeah, I'm aware of that they have to call, but the waiting list is long. So
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that how can someone be, how can Sunnyvale be approved to get a tiny home? Who's going to approve that?
I think realistically
desperate to
that
have
comes to city council and approval. There's a whole process that goes into that.
And actually, I think Sunnyvale is in the process of doing a home key application, but that's a long term. That is just getting started right now. It'd be a long time before anything like that comes online. All right, I'll repeat for the people on Zoom so they can hear as well.
They can hear me, let me know.
Okay.
Yeah, do you need a mic?
They won't hear you unless you talk right into the, yeah.
Hi, I hope that everybody has read the 3 exposés in Mountain View Voice on Life Moves. As the advocate that created the investigation, it's all true. And Heather and I actually had conversations that are part of the investigation. So what I would like to say is, some of the things I feel that you said are not true. I brought allegations to you of people who were being sexually harassed. And no, I feel like, hang on, let me, before you cut me off.
Trying to do is to profile Life Move. This is not a, this is what Life Move does in your opinion and not, we're just letting Life Move talk. And so I think out of respect for Livable Sunnyvale in this space here, there's another venue that you can probably use, but please don't let it be here.
Okay, I think that it should be important though, that people know how people are treated rather than,
There's the space that you can do that, but I would prefer.
okay, I'll just leave it at, I hope that everyone reads the expose in Mountain View Voice.
Okay, thank you. And we have electeds here, so there were plenty of ways that you can communicate with them. Jeff is here. He has a question.
Hi, my name's Jeff Houston, and I'm working with a group in Santa Clara that is trying to help Life Moves build their facility. And so we're in support of it. And we did read the exposés in Mountain View. And I'm sure you have an explanation for most, if not all of it. One thing I was hoping you could help me understand was the part about staff turnover. And I'm wondering, is that, it's only been there for about 3 years now. So maybe that's something you might have expected, to have that sort of staff turnover. Can you help us understand that?
Absolutely. So just as a point of reference for Mountain View, so that facility was built in record time right at the height of the pandemic. So start to finish, inception and build and moving clients in. We did that in record time, and that's something that we're really proud of. We also then really wanted to respond to the urgency because of COVID and bringing folks in. But we were up against the same constraints that everyone else had in terms of fear and feeling safe, much like healthcare workers and things like that. So it was a challenge to get staffing in there, and it continues to be something that we work on. So absolutely, was there turnover? Yes, we do expect that with a certain degree at any new program, just as we kind of work out how the program should operate. But COVID really kind of fueled some of that turnover in terms of what we were able to navigate because of people's feelings of personal safety and what the work is being tasked to do, since it's of course all in person.
Propaganda is all, I mean, many things are good about Life Move. You can ask anything that supports their argument, but nothing that is, you would want to find out why they only have a 26% success rate. So it's moving, I'm just asking, I just want to be clear, it's the only pro Life Move propaganda. There's no question that could be critical. I just want to be clear.
Well, I think we're open to respectful questions. It sounds like what I'm hearing from you, though, is there some type of other expose that I'm not aware of, and I think that's a better venue for that. May not be this space. What I think what we're trying to do is we see this as an opportunity to give Life Moves a voice here. I'm not exactly sure if they're perfect. They're probably not. But what we want to do is we want to see transitional housing go forward. And so I would like to introduce our two next speakers who are from Santa Clara advocates, which when okay, good, we're all in the same team.
They need it perfect. They need to be held accountable and make those improvements. So all of us who are the advocates here, who have worked with them and seen fail, we want to see them held accountable. And hey, you don't need to shut us down for that. And then,
No, I'm not trying to shut you down.
they left that program.
Okay, can we, my only request is that you bring your stories and your things that are bothering you to them in a private venue. We're just Okay, well then I don't,
I feel like you should be open to both sides of the story because that's important.
okay, I am happy to meet with you all after this in another venue where we can just maybe we can facilitate a round table where we all sit around and say, what can we do to help this situation move forward? I don't know what that is. I don't know what the history is. What we're trying to do as Livable Sunnyvale is to show what Life Moves is doing and to help them get the property, the transitional housing and on Lawrence and Benton. And these folks here are on Lawrence and Benton. They're Santa Clara advocates, and they would just like to say how their group formed and what they would what they see happening and what they would like to see happen. So I got to go back to my my bios for Jeff and Shalini. So hold on one second here. I'm sorry. So Shalini Venkatesh, did I say that right? Was born in India, moved to England as a child in the 60s and became a physicist and came to work in Silicon Valley over 34 years ago. She has lived all but her first 4 years in the US in the city of Santa Clara in a house within a half a mile of a site recently proposed for interim supportive housing. And then we have Jeff here. And Jeff's, let's see. So Jeff has been behind the scenes in Bay Area politics for nearly 40 years, advocating for environmental justice, transit-oriented development, and affordable housing. A 10-year resident of Santa Clara, recently involved in the El Camino Real specific plan and the Life Moves Benton interim housing project. So I welcome you here to share about your advocacy group. When I spoke to them yesterday, they mobilized in like no time. This is what we can do when we all come together and try to work towards a solution. So I'll let you guys just talk about what you see as your next step and what the call to action may be. Oh, yes. So to get on camera, you need to sit in my chair.
And so I can just look at the slide from there.
Mhm.
Hello, can you hear me now? Good. Okay, hi, I'm Shalini. Thanks for the introduction, Angela. As she said, Jeff and I are here representing a local grassroots coalition of neighbors in the neighborhood of the proposed interim housing shelter. And we've called ourselves Santa Clara Housing Advocates. And hopefully you can see this presentation somewhere.
I sent you the slides, Julia.
Okay.
Might be called
I have them on this
Oh,
computer. If
Are you logged into the Zoom here?
no,
Okay.
no, but I don't.
He's gone.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, I got him on there. Yeah, I already did. That's me.
Okay, great. Hi. So Okay, so I'm working from that now. And so they can see me and the slides. This is amazing. Okay, good. We're Santa Clara Housing Advocates, at least 2 of the members. And as Angela said, we just recently formed just almost exactly 2 months ago. None of us knew each other. And so there's been a lot going on in the last couple of months. And we have formed, we're all residents of the city of Santa Clara. I believe at the moment, almost, I'd say about 16 of the 20 or so of us actually live in the zip code where this current Santa Clara proposal is cited. We are neighbors that have come together for this common cause. We have people who are, we have parents, we have kids, we have people who are homeowners and renters. We are quite a diverse group. Oh, I'm sorry. I moved mine and didn't move yours. Okay. So that's what I was trying to show. That there are a few partner organizations who are giving us some advice. Destination Home, Catalyze SV, and I think 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 other organizations. But we came together organizing in an organic way, basically in response to some very strong opposition that was displayed at the first couple of community meetings to discuss the very early stages of this project. And this is a joint proposal from staff of the city of Santa Clara and staff from the county. And the service provider that they're working in collaboration with is Life Moves. As I say, we're quite a diverse group in terms of our backgrounds and experience. But the thing that brought us together was a feeling that, and a belief based on now a lot of research that we've all done on the fact that interim supportive housing is a really important, a vital step in a whole continuum of services to try and deal with the problems of the unhoused. It's a very partial solution, but it seems to be a great step forward. We're all volunteers. We're not connected in any way to the city or county government or staff, which is something that some of the opponents have kind of suggested to try to kind of delegitimize us. But that's not who we are. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. This is the little graphic on the top right corner is a satellite view of the area, that sort of greenish yellow blob there. That site was actually identified by the county as land that they already owned that's not being used for anything else, except for a couple of months of the year when it's used at the most for pumpkins and for Christmas trees. So it's leased out privately. The rest of the time, it's just this open lot that is used for overflow parking, occasionally by a little church that's next door. So it was ideal for, for constructing something new without knocking something down and not having to pay money for the land. And so the plan that they came up with, this is a joint proposal to build a homeless shelter there and apply for money to actually build it and operate it from the Home Key program round 3. And the picture that you see there is just a sort of artist rendition of what it might look like based on some other sites, I think. That this is a slide provided by the city at the last meeting. And it shows just one of at least 3 options that are currently under consideration. We're not sure which one is actually going to be chosen to be presented to the City Council for them to look at the end of this month. But to just give you a rough idea, this particular option would serve about 90 individuals with a small but significant proportion of families amongst them. And the approximate cost is a little over 4 million to serve those. And the boxes on the right just show some of the features which kind of fit with what I believe the Life Moves representative who came on just before was Heather was saying. It'd be a low barrier. It would have the sort of supportive services that she was talking about and the safety measures that are necessary to run anything like that. We think there are lots of reasons to support any interim supportive housing shelter, and we have about 100 sources on our website that provide a lot of background studies on what is good and what is bad about or what the difficulties are for some of these. Sorry, what was there? Okay. I think it's somebody on Zoom. Anyway, that's all right. I'm not going to go into detail on all these, but I hope that you will look at the website and look at some of these resources. Some are from academic research. Some are based on data gathered at actual supportive services run by a huge variety of companies, including Life Moves, but many others too. But looking at things more generally, as well as looking at some specific cases in different countries. We're looking at safety. We're looking at what makes some of them use money more efficiently than others, and just a wealth of information there. So our group, SCHA, as I said, let's see if I can get this to come down now. It's not scrolling down for some reason. Can you see if it can help? Oh, got it now. Thank you very much. At the bottom there, you see our website is schousingadvocates.org. And what we're really hoping is that some of you here tonight and some of you online might be interested not only to go to the website to see what we've put together and to see what we've been doing, but also to fill out our contact form if you should be interested in joining our Discord group to share ideas and possibly volunteer. The kind of things we've been doing are contacting city and county officials, trying to assure them that the majority in the neighborhood are not violently opposed to this, which is the impression they may have got at some of the community meetings. But there is actually a lot of support for doing something, if not exactly what's been proposed, something definitely in that spirit, and to do it now where there's a really good chance of getting home key funding to make this thing happen. If you have ideas on reaching out maybe to your own communities to try and help, because I think the things that the officials are going to respond to is evidence that there is support out there, and this is something that we are interested in having. We are intending to speak at a very important city council meeting on April the 25th, at which a vote will be taken by Santa Clara City on whether or not to support this proposal going forwards. Shortly afterwards, the County Board of Supervisors will be taking a vote too, and only after that will the formal application be made for funding. So if any of you would be interested in coming to either of those meetings, or just helping us with getting the word out beforehand, we'd be very happy to have you. And there's an email address given at the bottom too, if you'd like to just contact us directly rather than go to the website. And I should here make a strong tribute to the person who actually was the seed of us all coming together, and that's Elisa Gurman. So she's the kind of the lead for SCHA, and has put this, done almost basically all the work, I think, for the website and putting it all together, and it's keeping us all focused. So anyway, thank you very much for your time, and I hope some of you will contact us, with questions and concerns, as well as your support. Thank you.
Nope, you're done. Okay, good. So thank you for your dedication and for being here.
Writing us at short notice.
Thanks for showing up on short notice. Oh. There's a question in the chat that says, is your group open to having a voice on Nextdoor to counteract the opposition's organized post?
I think one of our members is on Nextdoor and has been posting a group about this. And I think She's not engaging. Sorry. I think they're not engaging directly with the negative post and are focused on putting some positive post on there. And then in response to opposition to that, strategically responding to it. So we're trying to not give any more air to the opposing side, but to try and focus on the positive.
Thank you. And we have a question in the back.
It's not really a question, it's just a comment. I commend you for your work, especially in a hard town like Santa Clara. At least I think it's hard. I've organized there too. And I do hope that you will look more into life moves.
Thank you. Thank you. David has a question. No.
I might have missed it, but for this proposed site, is there a specific subpopulation of the unhoused community that will be targeted? Is it families with children, a mixture, single adults?
Heather wants to go with this or shall
Yeah. Either way, I can say it the way we saw it, and then Heather can tell you what was going on in practice. I guess the original proposal was, I believe, that it was going to be pretty much entirely adults, single or couples without kids. But there was a pretty strong reaction at the first couple of meetings that a lot of the opposition, in fact, centered their opposition on the fact that families weren't being included. Of course, I think it was at the third meeting that they came back, the city and Life Moves, with a couple of options that did include families. I showed one. There was one that included even more, a higher proportion. And I don't think any final decision has been made. And I'm not sure at what stage it will have to be made. I believe, and in fact, I'm glad that there's somebody from Life Moves who can tell us. But my understanding is that a few days before the council is asked to take a vote, that they will have coalesced on one, or maybe they'll be given a couple of options. I don't know. Okay. So over to Heather.
Yeah.
Heather, do you have anything to add?
No, that was very accurate. So again, the original proposal was for singles and couples. Based on public feedback in our community meetings, the request for families to be included in the proposal was taken. And so the project is being redesigned and options are being presented to council, and then council will decide moving forward for Santa Clara. I think that vote is the end of this month. But we have reworked some designs that include singles, couples, and families as well. So it would be a combination facility.
So David has one more follow-up. He's going to be short.
Sorry, so it's more of advice for, let's say, city of Sunnyvale as we embark on the idea of what could potentially be in this community. Is shifting that strategy and providing multiple options in different types of who gets served and who gets prioritized for these projects. Is that like encouraging? Is that like a good strategy to do, and getting community, reducing the opposition and getting people behind this types of projects?
Yeah. So I think it would be nice to think so, and it certainly I think has an effect on people who didn't have strong feelings in opposition against it. But there, say a lot of the people who objected most vocally at the first few meetings have just shifted the focus of what they're objecting to. So now they've dropped that issue completely, but they feel just as strongly. And it's basically fear of crime, fear of the neighborhood, somehow being impacted, rather than because it's not going to help families. So I think it has changed some minds, but I think there's going to be opposition. Okay.
I'm gonna say thank you all for coming and supporting this and coming to listen to Life Moves and Santa Clara Advocates and Sunnyvale Community Services speak. There's more probably discussion later, and the emails are all out there. We have a website. Santa Clara Advocates have a website. Life Moves have a website and contact information. So we're open to continuing this momentum because we need all types of housing in this community. We're going to pivot. Oh, let's see. Okay. We're going to pivot to our next speaker, and I'm sorry we're running a little late. My apologies.
Hi, so I'm going to very happily introduce our next speaker, not only for her level of expertise, but also her enthusiasm for coming this evening. So Margaret Abe-Koga is in her 4th term on the Mountain View City Council. She was elected in 2006, became the first Asian American female to serve on the Mountain View City Council, and as mayor in 2009 during the Great Recession. Margaret served again as mayor in 2020, where she led the city through the COVID-19 pandemic. She has been a champion for sustainability, transportation, affordability, housing, public safety, diversity, equity, and inclusion. She serves on regional bodies, including the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, the Valley Transportation Authority Board of Directors as an officio, thank you, Margaret, officio member, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, the Silicon Valley Clean Energy Board, and as the Santa Clara County Cities Association Board President. Prior to her service on the City Council, Margaret served as trustee for Area 1 on the Santa Clara County Board of Education and was active with several community and nonprofit organizations. Margaret holds an AB in American Government from Harvard University, and she and her husband have 2 college-age daughters. And Margaret is going to talk to us this evening about guaranteed basic income. Thank you.
Should I sit? You're going to sit in the hot seat? Okay. Great. Thank you.
I think I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure and honor to be here. I've heard so much about Livable Sunnyvale as your neighbor in Mountain View. I'm very proud of the relationship that our 2 cities have. We've worked in unison on a number of issues, and one of them, frankly, that I'm very proud of was back in 2014, I believe. We led the effort to increase the minimum wage, and we did it in unison with Sunnyvale, Mountain View. So we've had a long history of working together, and that's not always the case, frankly, with all cities. So I'm just very excited that we have this great relationship with Sunnyvale and Mountain View. So thank you, and thank you for having me. Before we jump into GBI, if I could just say, listening to the earlier presentation, I was actually mayor in 2020 and was the one who was approached by Life Moves to try to put the Project Home Key project together. And just a little backstory, as it was mentioned, it was a very quick project. We were trying to, frankly, house as many people as we could in a time of need. And Life Moves had come to us. Actually, my colleague, Councilmember Lucas Ramirez, was the first one who was talking with them. And I guess, suggested they call me as mayor. So it was in August on a Sunday, I get a phone call from the Life Moves then CEO proposing this project. And, it sounded great. It was a quick build project, fairly low cost, which is very challenging for affordable housing or any kind of housing these days. And we had 4 days to put the application together for the state funding. And my staff turned it around. They worked 24 for 4 days straight to get it together. So we were really excited about it. You know, I did read the articles in the Voice, and I'll say um, it's always hard to try something new and different. Everything, you know, and I think it's an experiment. We certainly have learned a lot. It was, you know, we were trying to get something done quickly that could help the community, and it's one of the first prototypes of this model. So in no way is I mean nothing is perfect, right? And I think we're learning from this process. And my hope is that other cities will, and Sunnyvale, Santa Clara will also engage in a life or a project home key project, and we just learn from, you know, our lessons. And that's my hope, is that each project becomes better and better. So you know, I applaud our our organization, Life Moves, for, you know, getting this project up and running so quickly. And I do believe it still has helped people. There's definitely improvements to be made, and we will continue to work with that. So I just wanted to just put my little disclaimer on that, and happy to talk with others if you have any questions about that program. But with shifting gears, and it's kind of along the same theme of innovation in government, which is not always very easy to do. But I have to say, for me, I'm in my 15th year on the city council, and having been on for a while, you know, I'll say I've learned a few things. I learned how things get done, and I've come to a place in my career on council that, and it actually started back in 2014. So we have a 2-term limit. We can sit out 2 years and then come back, and that's what I did. So 2014 was my last year, my first 2 terms, and that's when we did the minimum wage increase. This round, as I get close to the end of my term, and I'll be terming out next year, I guess I've been really interested in finding ways to innovate, to try new projects, try different things that hopefully will improve the way we are providing services. And that's what guaranteed basic income is, the pilot program is for me. As mentioned, I was mayor again during COVID. And at that time, you know, when we went into sheltering, I just remember the next day emails coming in just prolifically about the need for help, rent relief assistance. We did that. We provided over $5 million in rent relief, and was able to help 2,500 people. We did business loans and grants. You know, I know you know the times. It was just a time of great need. And so my interest was, how do we get assistance out to people as quickly and as directly as possible? And that's what this guaranteed basic income program was for me. I'll say, you know, I was following at that time, or a little before that, Andrew Yang running for president, and became very interested in the concept of UBI, universal basic income. The challenge there is, of course, the resources to do that. And so we were able to do a modified program called the Guaranteed Basic Income Pilot Program. So, and how did we do that? So we were fortunate during COVID that our city, we've miraculously were able to have a surplus in our city budget. And we can talk about city finances if anyone's interested in how we do that. But because of that, all cities received some funding from the federal government for COVID relief, and Mountain View got in total $15 million over 2 years. So when we had to decide how to spend those funds. Unfortunately, because we didn't have to backfill our budget, it was really just extra funding. And so again, my interest was, how do we get that funding out to the community as quickly and as directly as possible? And so I thought, why not try a guaranteed basic income program? So that was how it came about. And we call it Elevate Mountain View. And if we could have the next slide, please. Just want to share a little bit about the details. So what we did was I introduced the concept. We agreed on originally $1 million to put aside for this program. And then we had a second year of funding. So then we put another $1 million aside. So $2 million over 2 years. And that and then we calculated that out to $500 a month per participant over the 24-month period. And so through that, we are able to assist 166 people. We tried to minimize the criteria. So it basically just need to be a resident of Mountain View, regardless of immigration status or housing or the unhoused were eligible for this program as well. We focused on the income level of 30% of average median income, which is considered extremely low income. And then the individual has to be a parent or a custodial caregiver for at least one child under the age of 18 at the time when they applied, or be pregnant at that time. And that was really our interest in trying to help with families, with children. So the cost to us, it ended up being a little bit more than the 2 million. It was about 2.3 million. We also were able to receive $100,000 from the Silicon Valley Community Foundation that has expressed or has shown an interest in these GBI programs. And there's a number of them in the Bay Area that have started. So they're not required to, but participants who would like to can be a part of a optional service to be connected to other types of benefits that are available, as well as financial coaching, counseling. I believe about half of our participants are participating in that. And then there's this issue that came up, and it's part of this experiment, is that we realized early on that for some folks, this extra $500 a month would actually push them out of other programs like CalFresh. And so we actually had to go and get waivers from the county and the state and the federal government, I believe, I don't know about the feds, but definitely county and state, to keep the folks in those programs. And then, in addition, this would be $500 on top of that. So, and just to give you a sense, the 30% AMI is roughly about $30,000 to $40,000, I believe. And so a $500 a month, that's $6,000. That's an extra 20% increase in their income. So it is sizable for the participants. Next slide, please. And then a big part of this was the data collection. So we wanted to, see what kind of outcomes would happen from this financial assistance. So we've partnered with the University of Pennsylvania, and they are doing the data tracking. Again, it's optional, so not every participant is in it, but I believe over half have agreed to be a part of the data collection. So we are expecting to see, I believe, in around June timeframe, the first wave of data, and that includes how our participants are spending the funding. So a big part of this for me was, like, to be frank, after doing this for a while, I'm tired of our patriarchal system of assistance. And for me, this was really important because I do believe, individuals should have be empowered to make their own decisions. They know best how to improve their lives, I believe, and this gives them that freedom. And that's the difference with, like, our current welfare system or assistance programs, is it's very narrowly focused. Again, like CalFresh, it can only be for food or housing or whatnot. This gives folks the flexibility to use that funding in any way they need to. And so far that we're hearing that folks are using it for medical expenses, or a lot for rent, frankly, rent coverage. The car breaks down, they need to fix their car, they're able to do that now. And then one area that is really, for me, very important is how this affects our future generations. I'm a mom of 2 kids, as mentioned, and I'm actually in the process of reading applications for our Rotary Club for a scholarship program, and it's need-based. And it's been actually amazing to see how many young people, students, took a break from school or weren't involved in the school activities as much because they had to go and find a job to help their families during COVID as their parents lost their jobs and whatnot. So this is a opportunity perhaps for those families to be able to have a little bit of financial relief, and the two students and the children to be able to focus back on their school work or their education. So that's been very exciting to see. We wanted to make sure we had very clear anticipated outcomes. So again, the goal is to elevate the quality of life for our most vulnerable, provide that basic income for Mountain View residents to meet their essential needs, and then learn from our participants as a sample of our extremely low income community, helping to create financial stability. The hope is that perhaps this can give them that extra boost to find full-time employment, or perhaps it's for childcare so someone can go back to school to improve their increase their education, and that hopefully will lead to better financial opportunities. And so I won't go through all of these, but we had very clear goals that we wanted to see achieved through this program. Next slide, please. And then I won't go through this again, but for me, the research component was very important. It did cost a little bit more, frankly, to do it. But my hope is that, and this is a 2-year pilot program, admittedly. If there is more funding to be had, perhaps that we can continue it. But my hope is, one, the participants in that 2-year timeframe will be able to improve their lives. Two, it's the outcomes from the data collection. It's part of a bigger movement. There's a group called Mayors for a Guaranteed Basic Income. This is a growing movement, and the hope is that we can come up with actual data points on how we can improve our current system to make it better, to help people really be able to improve their lives. So that's the benefit of doing the research. Next slide, please. And this is a real partnership. So we have our city staff, but we have partnered with nonprofit, our community services agency. I see Marie here, the sisters to that in Mountain View. They're the ones who are frankly basically administering the program. We've worked with the YMCA to get the word out to get folks to apply for the program. As mentioned, we have the technical and research partners. Actually, Stanford has a think tank, Stanford University Basic Income Lab, that's also been a part of our program. And then we have the fiscal payment processor. So they're the ones who are providing the actual debit cards or the funding into the bank accounts. Next slide, please. And so the key to this was to really make sure we communicated that we had this program so that we could ensure applicants. We went out, and then we wanted to meet people where they were. So providing the information in multi-languages. We actually opened little centers like at our library where folks could come and we could help them actually fill out the application for the program. We used our city website extensively. We have a multicultural engagement program under the city manager's office, and we provide several languages through that program. So we made sure that we had the information in multi-languages. So this is a very important component, and there is a dashboard on our website where you will start seeing the data once it starts to come out. Next slide, please. So, and this is again, the application process. We had these support hubs. It was a short window, just 10 days, because we really wanted to get this going as quickly as we could. And part of it is the ARPA funds. There's a time limit. We have to spend it by a certain time. So we needed to get this going as quickly as possible. We had these hubs throughout the city, the library, community centers, CSA, and the multi-language support team. Next slide, please. And so during the 10-day window in September, we ended up with 658 eligible applications. So out of that, we picked 166. It was purely random, conducted by the University of Pennsylvania. So we didn't have any any say in it. It was completely done outside of the area and randomized. And so I guess we did anticipate 1,000. We had some applications that were not eligible, but we did end up with a sizable number. And next slide, please. So just takeaways so far from our program, I would say, choose your program project partners well, and we're very fortunate to have the project partners like our community services agency, the YMCA, the universities, and then again having a clear council direction. I believe it was a 6-1 vote when we voted to do the pilot program. And then having a clear plan is very important to make it successful, but also being flexible and adaptable. Again, because this is fairly new, we're treading, uncharted territory. So it's important to be able to adjust accordingly. So we are endeavoring to do that. And next slide, please. And then continuing to understand the participants and what their experience is. So part of the data collection will be shared stories from some of the participants. And again, community outreach in multiple language in our very diverse city, as Sunnyvale is very important, we found. And then the application hubs did seem to be very effective in helping folks to apply for the program. And last slide, please. This is on our website. You can find more information here. And this is where you'll also see the data as it comes out. Again, I've been told in June timeframe, we should be seeing our first wave of data. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Other cities have shown positive results. I hope that we can do the same and really be a part of this growing movement to reform our systems and give folks, help folks empower themselves to improve their lives. And that's it. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions. It's free.
Thank you, Margaret. And our agency, Sunnyvale Community Services, has been watching this and putting together proposals for about 5 years to do GBI, UBI. We like the GBI term as well. Did your city do a study issue on this, or did you just go ahead?
We just went ahead.
Hey.
And to be frank,
There's so much data already, right? Okay.
yes, it was that. And I think, to be frank, it was the time, because we were in the midst of a pandemic and this real need. And then we were just fortunate to have this funding available. So it was just a aligning of the stars in a sense. I will say I did hear pushback. I've been called a socialist, which isn't a bad thing, but or folks say this is a handout. And I look at it differently. Like, this is not intended to last forever. It's really, and it is a short time frame. But the hope is, and at some point, that this will have helped folks move up to be able to be more self-sufficient. So I don't look at that as a handout. I really just look at that as a boost up, frankly. And so that's my hope with this. Yeah, I admittedly it is a short-term funding stream. And I'll be off council before it ends, so I don't know what will happen after that. But it's really for me about that conversation too, about the data collection and really changing, moving towards changing the way we are doing things now. Thank you.
Any more on the chat? Any other questions, or Agnes, do you see questions?
No, I just wanted the mic. I'm going to introduce someone about. That's all.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. That was, oh,
Question for Tara. I know the Mountain View program was one of the earliest programs, but Senator Cortese passed, some other Bay Area pilots, and I thought maybe Tara could give us an update on those.
Thank you. Yeah, well, exciting news recently. So the senators actually now champion two guaranteed income pilot programs for Santa Clara County. One is a focus on transition age foster youth, and the other is on 12th grade unhoused high schoolers. So as you can imagine, these young adults, they're in their transition period. So helping them make that transition to whether it's higher education or career. And so the pilot for transition age foster youth ran for 2 years. And now this year, they'll have a second cohort that'll run for another 2 years. And the plan for the other pilot, and this actually came from a state bill, which is called CalSOAR, or California Student Opportunity Academic Resilience, CalSOAR, which he ran last year, and we're trying again this year through SB 333. When the bill didn't pass last year, it moved forward with partnership of Supervisor Susan Ellenberg as a county pilot. So now the county is trying to secure funding for that pilot to hopefully run for 2 years in a similar framework as the other pilot, starting next April, before their high school graduation. And we're trying to secure state funding for that as well. So those are 2 pilots just in Santa Clara County, and seem to be doing as well as one in Mountain View. So, and we're trying to bring that statewide. And the state in the 2021-2022 budget made their first investment in guaranteed income. It was actually $35 million, and that is going to lead to 7 pilot programs across the state. And that funding began November of last year. And that's being managed by the Department of Social Services. So that's really exciting as well. And I think a lot of that is thanks to Senator Cortese's work as well. And it'll focus on foster youth and pregnant women.
Thank you, Tara. There seems to be an obsession with all these programs with making sure there isn't somebody somewhere who gets a penny they don't deserve. And this is and it seems like the people promoting it have to make deals with people to say, okay, we're gonna drug test, or we're going to do various, all these things to, and that's the benefit of a program like this, is that it doesn't force you to jump through a bunch of hoops. And for anybody who's ever had to deal with not having enough money, the difference between having no money and some money is a big difference. So hopefully we can all support and push some of these ahead, and help a lot of people. I was thinking, as you were talking about the government money for Mountain View, in a way, it was kind of a GBI program for the city of Mountain View, so that you could survive and operate in this crisis. So, and we all have crises in our lives. So.
Is it? Oh, no, it's on now. So the city of Sunnyvale has talked about looking into a program, and they are going to be hiring a consultant, from what I understand, within the next several months. So Marie, do you want to talk to that, or you probably know more about that than I do, because my information's from last fall. That's true.
Okay. Like I said, it's been about 5 years. So we've been ready to start this. And I selfishly talked to Mountain View before and during. And everybody in Mountain View that we've talked to have said, here's our playbook, copy, paste, do it. So the one thing I see is that I'd rather be focused on getting funding for this rather than deciding if it's a good idea. I think there's so much data, and we have our own data that we just shared earlier today. We're known, just like CSA and Mountain View, for doing means testing. Are people worthy of, poor enough? We know how to do that. And also to make sure that all the information is tracked. So we know how to do that in partner. So what I'm hoping is that the study issue is swift and conclusive, and also ask for input from people like us, because I think we're ready to identify the target populations, which could be any of the above. We'd really like to focus on families with children. That's is a sweet spot where the stories that I hear are what families spend this money on the first times is food, which is heartbreaking that they have to use that. But then they get things. One family said they're able to get their kids' portraits copies at school because they never could afford it before. So it's $15, but they were able to do it. So little things like that that change lives is what we like to do. So I don't know even when it's, I've been understanding that it might be completed by the end of this calendar year, the study issue. And I know that part of that study issue is how much will it cost and where is the money going to come from? I don't have all those answers. I can imagine what the cost would be, but I don't have the answer on where the money might come from, but I'm willing to go out there and show for it. So.
Thank you. Did you want to say something else? Just say, respond to that. Thank you, Marie. Yes, the funding is the challenge. There are, and this is I'm actually speaking tomorrow. There's a Los Altos Mountain View Community Foundation panel that I'm going to be on talking about this. And there is funding. Google funded, I think it's Destination Home has a program. Google funded them. I don't know why they didn't fund us, but there are some interest from the private sector and foundations. And that's my hope, is that, you know, by showing that that this is successful, we can put that call out and call to action, and you know, it doesn't have to be just the government, but the private sector can certainly participate in these programs. So that is my hope. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Margaret, and thank you, Marie, for your knowledge as well.
So I just have a couple updates. This was a busy month for Livable Sunnyvale in terms of writing letters. We sent out 4 letters this past month. One of them was on the Stevens Creek Trail. So basically what we asked in that letter was to study a landing on the southeast side to make it safer for all. And we also asked that there be a discussion with the city with Stanford and maybe some type of easement. Both of those were approved at council. Also some other options. So to try to make that safer if those fail. So that was a win for Livable Sunnyvale. We also wrote a letter. Let me share my screen. There were 4 letters. So basically what we have to do as a board, if we feel that there's an urgency, we send out a letter. And so these were the 4 letters that we sent out this week, this month. So there was one on Livable Stevens Creek Trail. We sent one on behalf of Sunnyvale Community Services to request that they get funding for their solar. We sent a letter in support of the Benton Lawrence transitional housing project. And our last letter was a tenant protection endorsement letter. And so those were our letters. And that's part of our bylaws. So we just need to let you guys know about that. There's also, Agnes is also going to speak to update us on the Village Center and not Village Center, Chuck is.
All right, so I just wanted to do a quick update. So the village centers, the city's working on a new master plan for the 7 village centers. A couple of things have happened over the last month. for the, with regards to the village centers, we've actually learned that proposals have come in from developers. The city's working on the new plan, but they're already zoned so that people can come in and redevelop them. Two proposals have been submitted to the city, one for the site at the corner of Lake Haven and Lawrence. The developer wants to tear down the shopping center there and replace it with townhouses and a small amount of retail. And a proposal has been submitted for the location on Duane, where they want to actually tear down that shopping center and replace it with just townhouses. So we've been advocating to the city to kind of act with a sense of urgency to try and get this master plan updated before more of these proposals come in, that are basically eliminating all the retail there. And the other thing that happened recently was there was a study session with the Planning Commission on this. You can go back and watch that on YouTube with a lot of interesting data there. One of the important highlights of that that I took away from that is city staff is asking for feedback from the Planning Commission, from City Council, from the community on whether they should look at a higher housing density as part of this current process that they're going forward with for the master plan, or to do it later on. And that's one of the main things we feel you need to get that higher housing density in order to be able to subsidize the retail and maintain this retail. So we've been advocating for that. All right, and I think Agnes is up next with an update on the housing element. Oh, actually, oh, sorry, there's a question. Yeah, so in addition to the two village center proposals I mentioned, there are actually two sites that are already underway. So they're redeveloping part of the corner at Fremont and Sunnyvale, Saratoga. Those plans have been approved. Construction started, they've demolished some of the stuff. So those are all underway. And there's the third one, or the fourth one, is at the corner of Fremont and Mary. And I believe that that proposal is still in the process of getting approved. I don't think it's been approved by council yet, but it's in the process of getting approved.
I'm up. So I get to be the closer. All right. So I am really glad to be able to say we, Livable Sunnyvale, has a win. During the March 14th study session, the city's consultant presented Livable Sunnyvale's proposals to council to consider building more low-income housing in what is referred to as high opportunity areas, and to increase the village centers to 30 units per acre, and council seemed receptive to considering these ideas. Staff is expected to submit a revised draft to HCD, which, for those of you who don't know, is California Department of Housing and Human Development, early May. So I want to say many, many thanks to all of you who have worked so hard to make this happen. It's been a long road, and I think we done good, as my dad would say. So thank you.
I don't have any other announcements or things to say. I really thank you all for coming, all of you guys on Zoom and all of you guys in person. There's a lot of energy here. And I think as a community, we can come together and get some of these projects going forward, because we're all in this together. So thank you all. And thank you, Sunnyvale Community Services, for hosting us again in your nice space. Thank you. Oh, good. So we don't have to bring all of ours. So we're trying this hybrid. So thank you, and blessings to you all for Passover and Holy Week. And thank you all to our speakers. And I see Heather is still here. Thank you for staying to the end. Thank you. And that's it. I don't have my bell. So ding, ding. I'm gonna